The warehouse lights flickered overhead, as Junwoo stood with his back against cold concrete, 20 guns pointed at his chest. Blood trickled from a cut above his eyebrow, his designer suit torn at the shoulder, and still he refused to kneel. "Last chance, old man," the leader sneered, cocking his weapon. That's when the mop hit the first gunman square in the face. The wooden handle spun through the air and connected with a crack that echoed through the warehouse. The man's nose exploded in a spray of red. He dropped like a stone, his gun skittering across the concrete. Everyone froze for half a heartbeat, just long enough for a figure in a gray janitor's uniform to move through the shadows. Penelope Mensah was 22 years old, barely 5'6", with box braids pulled back in a simple ponytail. She'd been working the night shift at this warehouse for exactly 3 weeks, keeping her head down, sending money back to her family in Mauritius. Nobody looked at janitors. Nobody saw them, but she saw everything. The second man turned toward her, gun rising. She was already inside his reach, grabbed his wrist, twisted hard. The snap of bone was audible even over the shouting. He screamed. She ripped the weapon from his broken hand and threw it across the warehouse before driving her knee into his liver. He folded, vomiting. "What the fuck?" someone yelled. 3 came at her together. Amateur mistake. The first swung his pistol like a club. She ducked under it, swept his legs. As he fell, she caught him by the collar, used his momentum and body weight as a battering ram. Drove him straight into the second attacker. They went down in a tangle of limbs and curses. The third man swung wild, telegraphing everything. She slipped the punch, drove both palms into his throat. He made a wet gagging sound and collapsed, clutching his neck, unable to breathe. 4 more rushed her from different angles, trying to box her in. Smart, but not smart enough. She grabbed her broken mop handle off the ground. 2 short sticks now, each about 18 inches long. The first man threw a straight punch. She jammed one stick into his solar plexus, all her weight behind it. He doubled over. The second stick came around in an arc connected with his jaw. Teeth scattered like dice across the floor. Blood everywhere. She spun low, both sticks striking the second man's kneecap simultaneously. His legs buckled at an unnatural angle. He went down screaming. Someone grabbed her braid from behind. Big mistake. She bent forward sharply, using his grip on her hair as leverage. Flipped him completely over her back. He hit the concrete face first. She heard his nose break on impact. Before he could even register the pain, she stomped his gun hand, felt fingers break and crunch under her heel like dry twigs. The remaining attackers were backing toward the door now, guns forgotten in their hands, just wanting distance from this demon in a janitor's uniform, who fought like something out of a nightmare. "Run," Penelope said quietly, her accent carrying the musical lilt of Mauritian Creole mixed with perfect English. "Or stay and join them on the floor." They ran, all of them, scrambling over each other to get through the door. The whole fight had taken 2 minutes. Penelope stood there breathing hard, her uniform dusty and splattered with other people's blood, one braid falling loose across her face. She turned to look at Junwoo, her dark eyes meeting his with an expression he couldn't quite read. Not fear, not excitement, just calm assessment. "You're bleeding," she said simply, nodding at his forehead. Junwoo touched the cut above his eyebrow, then looked at his fingers slick with red. "I've had worse." "Probably," she agreed, already turning away to survey the groaning bodies scattered across the warehouse floor. "But, you should clean that. Infections are serious. If you're loving this story so far, hit that subscribe button right now because you're not going to believe what happens next. Trust me, this is just the beginning." She picked up her mop bucket from where it had fallen during the fight, examining the broken handle with what looked like genuine disappointment. Like she'd just lost a favorite possession. "Wait." Junwoo pushed off the wall, ignoring the sharp pain in his ribs where someone had kicked him before Penelope intervened. "Who are you?" "Nobody important. Just the janitor." "Janitors don't fight like that." "This one does." She started walking toward her supply cart parked against the far wall, dismissing him entirely. Something about her complete indifference irritated him more than the assassination attempt had. Junwoo had spent 30 years building his reputation on being untouchable, feared, respected across 3 continents. Men twice her size crossed the street when they saw him coming. This girl looked at him like he was just another mess to clean up before her. Shift ended. "What's your name?" She paused, considered not answering, then shrugged. "Penelope. I know who you are. Everyone in Atlanta knows who you are, Mr. Park." She grabbed her cart, started pushing it toward the elevator. "You should go home before more of them come. They usually send a second wave when the first fails. Come with me." The words surprised them both, hung in the air between them. Penelope turned back, one eyebrow raised. "Excuse me?" "Come with me. I can offer you a job. Better pay than this." He gestured at the warehouse, the bodies, the blood. "Safer too." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just weariness. "No thank you. I have 3 more floors to clean tonight, and I can't lose this job. My family in Mauritius depends on the money I send home. I'm offering you a better one, more money than you make here in a year." "As what? Your bodyguard?" She shook her head, braids swaying. "I'm not interested in your world, Mr. Park. I just wanted to make sure nobody died in my warehouse tonight. Creates paperwork. Makes my boss ask questions I don't want to answer. Despite everything, the pain, the betrayal, the fear," Junwoo smiled. Actually smiled. Something he hadn't done in months. "Your warehouse?" "I clean it every night, don't I? That makes it mine between midnight and 6 a.m. She met his eyes directly. No fear in them at all. Just quiet defiance. "Now, go home before I have to save your life twice in one night." He pulled out a business card from his jacket pocket, pressed it into her hand before she could refuse. Their fingers touched briefly. Hers were calloused, strong, working hands. "Think about it. You saved my life tonight. That means something in my world. It means I'm a decent person. Nothing more," but she kept the card, tucked it into her uniform pocket before pushing her cart toward the elevator. Junwoo watched her go, this impossible girl who'd appeared out of nowhere, and changed. Everything in 2 minutes of controlled violence. His phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from his people, all panicking about his location and the radio silence. He should call them. Should deal with the situation. Should begin the careful, bloody process of rooting out whoever had betrayed him tonight. Instead, he found himself thinking about dark eyes and island accents and the way someone could be both impossibly young and impossibly old at the same time. 3 days later, Penelope stood outside Park Industries Tower at 11 p.m., staring up at 50 stories of glass and steel that reflected the Atlanta skyline back at itself. She'd changed after her shift, traded the gray uniform for simple jeans and a yellow sweater her sister had sent from Mauritius last month. Her braids were freshly done, pulled back with a scarf that had been her grandmother's. The fabric was old, worn soft, still smelled faintly of the coconut oil her grandmother had used. She shouldn't be here. Knew. It in her bones, in the way her grandmother had taught her to listen to instinct before logic. But something about him pulled at her. Maybe the loneliness she'd seen underneath all that power and blood. Maybe just curiosity about a world she'd spent 2 years avoiding. Maybe both. The lobby guard checked her name against a list on his tablet, looked surprised to find it there, then waved her through to a private elevator that required a keycard. The doors were polished chrome, showed her reflection, a girl from a tiny island trying to look brave in a world of giants. As the numbers climbed, Penelope's grandmother's voice whispered in her memory. "Penny, the strongest fighters know when to walk away, but they also know when to walk forward into fire." The elevator opened directly into a penthouse office that took up the entire top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed Atlanta spread out like scattered diamonds, highways flowing with light. The city, alive and dangerous, and beautiful. And there, silhouetted against that view, stood Junwoo. He'd changed too. Simple black clothes, no suit jacket, his hair falling slightly across his forehead. The cut above his eyebrow had scabbed over, would probably scar. Somehow, that felt important. Permanent proof that their first meeting had been real. "You came," he said, and she heard genuine surprise in his voice, like he'd expected her to ghost him. "You gave me 5 stars in that review. My boss was so impressed, she gave me a raise and promoted me to weekend supervisor." Penelope stepped into the office, her footsteps silent on expensive carpet. Felt rude not to say thank you. "That's the only reason?" She walked to the windows, looked out at the city sprawling below. From up here, everything looked peaceful. You couldn't see the violence, the desperation, the way people hurt each other in 1,000 small ways. "Still figuring out the other reasons. Give me a minute." Junwoo laughed quietly, joining her at the glass. They stood in comfortable silence, two people separated by 28 years and 1,000 different worlds, somehow finding themselves in the same moment. "I found who sent them," he said eventually. "The men from the warehouse." "Family?" "Nephew. My late brother's son, Sung-min. 24 years old, thinks he's ready to run the organization." Junwoo's reflection in the glass looked tired. "He sent 20 men to kill me. When that failed, he tried to have my car rigged with explosives yesterday." Penelope turned to face him directly. "But you're still alive." "I have good people checking my vehicles. Had good people," he corrected himself, jaw tight. "Sungmin got to 3 of them first, paid them off or threatened their families. I don't know which yet." "What did you do to him?" "Sent him to our operation in Busan, South Korea, far enough away that he can't cause immediate problems, close enough that I can watch him. He's still family. Family that tried to kill you, twice. Still family." The words sounded hollow, even to him. Penelope thought about her father, who'd sold their family land in Mauritius to pay gambling debts. Thought about how blood ties could strangle just as easily as hold. "You're kinder than I would be." "Kind?" He turned to look at her directly now, really look at her. "I'm a criminal, Penelope. I've done terrible things, hurt people who didn't deserve it, destroyed lives for money and power. Don't confuse mercy with kindness." "Then what would you call it?" He was quiet for a long moment, and she watched emotions flicker across his face. Pain, regret, something that might have been hope. "Exhaustion. I'm tired of losing people, tired of waking up and wondering which family member will betray me next." Something in her chest tightened. She'd expected arrogance when she came here tonight, maybe calculated charm or subtle manipulation. Not this raw, weary honesty from a man who'd built an empire on fear. "Why did you really ask me here?" she asked softly. Junwoo reached into his pocket, pulled out a business card, different from the one he'd given her before. This one was heavier stock, embossed lettering. "I want to offer you a job. Real one, not charity. Chief of Personal Security." "I don't know anything about security." "You took out 20 armed men with a mop in 2 minutes. That was survival, not skill." "That was absolutely skill," he corrected firmly. "The kind that can't be taught in any dojo or training program. You read the situation, adapt it instantly, use their numbers against them. And you didn't hesitate. Not once." He paused. "I need someone like that. Someone I can trust." "You don't know me. How can you trust me?" "You could have let them kill me. Would have been easier, cleaner. No witnesses to your abilities, no complications in your quiet life." His dark eyes met hers, and she saw something vulnerable there beneath the hard exterior. "But you didn't. You risked yourself for a stranger. That tells me everything I need to know. Or maybe I just don't like seeing people die in my warehouse. That too, but I think it's more than that." He held out the card. "I'm offering you 200,000 a year, full benefits, housing stipend if you want it. You'd coordinate my security team, manage threat assessment, keep me alive. In return, I stay out of your way, and you get enough money to bring your whole family to America if you want." Penelope looked at the card but didn't take it yet. 200,000. She made 19,000 cleaning warehouses, sent most of it home. With that kind of money, her mother could see a real doctor for her diabetes. Her little brother could go to university. Her sister could leave the fish cannery that was slowly destroying her lungs. But nothing came free in this world. Especially not from men like Junwoo. What's the catch? You'll be a target. Anyone who wants to hurt me will eventually try to go through you. It's dangerous work. And if I say no? Then you say no, I'll leave you alone. Keep paying your warehouse to give you excellent reviews, and you go back to your life. He smiled slightly. But I think you're tired of cleaning floors, Penelope. I think you came to America looking for something more than night shifts and wire transfers home. He wasn't wrong. She'd left Mauritius 2 years ago with her grandmother's blessing and $300 in her pocket, determined to see the world, to be something more than another girl from the coast who married young and died old in the same village where she was born. But America had been harder than she expected. Lonelier. The dreams she'd carried across the ocean felt smaller here, worn down by bills and bus rides and the weight of everyone depending on her. I need to think about it, she said finally. Fair enough. But let me buy you dinner first. Get to know my potential employer, right? There's a Korean place in Midtown, best bibimbap outside Seoul, open until 2 a.m. I don't know anything about Korean food. Then I'll teach you. He grabbed his jacket from where it hung over a chair. Fair warning, though, I take my food very seriously. So do Mauritians. We'll see whose culture wins. 45 minutes later, they sat in a corner booth at a tiny restaurant tucked between a laundromat and a convenience store. The kind of place you'd walk past without noticing, which was probably why Junwoo chose it. An elderly Korean woman had greeted him with obvious affection, patted his cheek, scolded him in rapid Korean for losing weight. When he'd introduced Penelope and explained she'd saved his life, the woman had grabbed both of Penelope's hands and said something long and emotional that needed no translation. Now they sat surrounded by too much food. Bibimbap, kimchi jjigae, japchae, banchan dishes covering every inch of the table, and somehow ended up talking for 3 hours about everything except the job offer. Junwoo told her about growing up in Seoul, the youngest son in a family that expected him to become a doctor or lawyer. How he'd come to America at 15, barely speaking English and fallen in with the wrong people. Or maybe the right people, depending on how you looked at it. How he'd built his organization from nothing, clawed his way up through blood and strategy, and a willingness to do what others wouldn't. Do you regret it? Penelope asked, mixing her bibimbap the way he'd shown her. The path you chose? Every day, and not at all. He watched her taste the food, saw her eyes widen at the flavors. I have money, power, respect. I've helped people too. My organization runs legitimate businesses that employ hundreds. We protect our neighborhoods, keep worse criminals out. But I've also done things that keep me awake at night. So, yes, I regret it. But I can't imagine who I'd be if I'd chosen differently. Penelope described Mauritius in turn. The beaches where she'd learned to swim before she could walk. Her grandmother's house on the coast, where you could hear the ocean from every room. That constant whisper of waves that was as familiar as her own heartbeat. Fishing with her cousins at dawn when the water was like glass and the sky turned colors that didn't have names. The smell of dal puri cooking, the sound of Sega music at festivals, the way rain came sudden and violent and left everything clean and new. It sounds perfect, Junwoo said, watching her face soften with memory. Nothing's perfect. We're poor, really poor. Most people work in fish factories or sugarcane fields for almost nothing. My father drank away what little we had, then sold our land to pay gambling debts. My mother works 16-hour days and can barely afford her insulin. Penelope set down her chopsticks. But it was home, and I miss it every single day. Do you think you'll go back someday? She considered. This, watching the steam rise from her soup. Maybe, probably, but not yet. I'm not done here. Don't know what I'm trying to accomplish exactly, but I'll know when I find it. That's a very uncertain way to live. My grandmother used to say that life doesn't come with a manual. We're all just improvising and hoping we don't mess up too badly. Penelope smiled, remembering. She was 93 when she died. Told me nobody ever really grows up. We just get better at pretending we know what we're doing. She sounds wonderful. She was. She taught me everything important. How to fight, how to think, how to see people's hearts beneath their words. Penelope's throat tightened. She's the one who taught me the fighting techniques I use in the warehouse. Old Mauritian combat styles passed down through generations. She made me practice every day from the time I was 6 years old. Said women from our family needed to know how to protect themselves. What do you see when you look? At my heart? The question was quiet, vulnerable. Penelope set down her soup spoon, studied his weathered face, his eyes that had seen too much violence and somehow remained capable of kindness. Loneliness, she said finally. So much loneliness, it's like a weight you carry everywhere. Responsibility for people who'd kill you if they thought they could get away with it. A man trying to do right in a world that only rewards wrong. She paused. And underneath all that, stubborn hope. Foolish hope that things can get better, even though everything in your life says they won't. Junwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then, and when you look at your own heart, what do you see there? Fear, mostly, that I'm not strong enough for what's coming. Not smart enough, that I'll let down everyone counting on me. My family, my grandmother's memory, myself. She met his eyes. Especially if I take this job. Especially if I let myself care about keeping you alive. You're already thinking about taking it. Maybe, still figuring it out. Give me a minute. He smiled at that, warm and genuine. You say that a lot. Because it's true. Nothing worth doing comes with instant clarity. When the restaurant started closing, the elderly owner packed them enough leftovers to feed 4 people and hugged them both goodbye. Made Junwoo promise to bring Penelope back soon. In the car, driving through empty Atlanta streets, Penelope asked what the woman had said at the end in Korean. Junwoo kept his eyes on the road. She said you have good energy, that you make the shadows around me less dark, and I should hold on to you because people like that don't come along often. Do I? Make the shadows less dark? He glanced at her, something soft and hopeful in his expression. You're starting to. He dropped her at her apartment complex in Chambly. Modest, clean, the kind of place where people minded their own business and didn't ask questions. Before she could open the door, he reached across, caught her hand gently. Think about the job, he said quietly. But no pressure. I'd rather you said no and stayed safe than said yes for the wrong reasons. Your life is worth more than my convenience. Penelope looked at their joined hands, his scarred and calloused from years of violence, hers smaller but just as strong, marked by work and determination. What if I said yes for the right reasons? What would those be? Still figuring that out. She squeezed his hand once, then let go and climbed out. Walked to her building without looking back, though she felt his eyes following her the entire way, making sure she got inside safely. In her tiny studio apartment, she leaned against the door and let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. The business card was still in her pocket. She pulled it out, stared at the embossed lettering that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, but somehow she knew. You forgot. Your leftovers. I'll bring them to your next shift if you want. Sleep well, JW, despite everything. The danger, the complications, the absolute certainty that this was a terrible idea. She smiled. 2 weeks crawled by like months. Penelope worked her shifts, sent money home, tried to focus on the familiar routine. But everything felt different now. The warehouse felt smaller. The work felt meaningless. She caught herself looking at that business card a dozen times a day, running her thumb over the embossed letters like a talisman. Her little brother called from Mauritius, excited about a scholarship opportunity. Her mother called, worried about affording her medications next month. Her sister called, coughing from another 12-hour shift at the cannery, pretending everything was fine. On the 13th day, Penelope made her decision. On the 14th day, she showed up at Park Industries at 3 p.m., walked past the surprised receptionist straight to the elevator. The guard tried to stop her until Junwoo's voice crackled through the intercom. Let her up. He was waiting when the doors opened, surprise and something else. Hope. maybe relief written across his face. "I'll take the job," Penelope said without preamble. "But I have conditions." "Name them." "1. I'm not killing anyone. Protection only. Defense only. You need someone dead. Find someone else." "Agreed." 2. I keep my apartment. Don't care how nice your guest rooms are. I need my own space. My own life outside of this." "Reasonable." 3. She paused, met his eyes. "We keep this professional. Whatever happened at dinner was nice. Really nice. But I can't protect someone I'm emotionally involved with. It clouds judgment, makes me hesitate at the wrong moments. So we're employer and employee. Nothing more." Something flickered in Junwoo's expression. Disappointment mixed with understanding and maybe respect. "Of course. Professional. You're right, it's the smart boundary to set." "Good." She stuck out her hand. "When do I start?" He shook it, his grip warm and firm and lingering just a second too long. "Now. We have a security briefing in 30 minutes, then a family council meeting tonight. They'll want to meet you, probably try to intimidate you. Fair warning, my family makes the men in the warehouse look friendly." "I'm not worried. You should be. They eat people like us for breakfast." Penelope smiled, sharp and confident. "Then I guess they're about to learn that Mauritian girls bite back." The family council meeting was held in a conference room designed to intimidate. Dark wood paneling, expensive art that probably cost more than Penelope would make in 5 years. A table that could seat 20 people comfortably. 5 large screens were mounted on the walls for video calls from various international locations. Penelope stood behind Junwoo's chair in a charcoal blazer and black pants he'd had waiting for her, hands clasped. Loosely at her waist, face carefully neutral. She'd learned from her grandmother that power wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was stillness, the ability to be present without demanding attention, to watch everything without seeming to watch anything. The family members filed in like circling sharks. Mincio arrived first, a beautiful woman in her 40s wearing widow's black, though her husband had been dead for 3 years. She had the kind of face that could sell luxury products. High cheekbones, perfect skin, eyes like chips of ice. She looked at Penelope with cold assessment, dismissed her in a glance, turned to Junwoo. "This is your solution? A child?" "This child saved my life 2 weeks ago," Junwoo replied calmly, not rising to the bait. "Something 40 of our professionally trained men failed to do. Because your nephew betrayed you. Because you've become weak, brother. Sentimental." Minseo took her seat at the table like it was a throne. "Maybe if you'd shown Sungmin more respect, taught him properly instead of exiling him at the first sign of ambition. He tried to kill me. That's not ambition. That's treason. You killed his father, your own brother. Maybe he wanted justice. His father tried to kill me first. I had no choice." "There's always a choice." Minseo's voice went cold. "You just choose violence every time." Taehyun entered next, younger than Junwoo but prematurely gray, wearing an expensive suit that screamed corporate. He managed the legitimate side of the family business, real estate, import-export, investments. He nodded politely to Penelope, took his seat without comment. Smart, she decided, watching and waiting before forming opinions. The screens flickered to life one by one. Sungmin appeared in the first, calling from Busan, his young face twisted with barely concealed resentment. He looked like Junwoo might have at 24, handsome, ambitious, angry at the world. Uncle Dongwon appeared in the second screen, elderly and sharp-eyed, calling from Seoul. His face was a roadmap of wrinkles, each one earned through decades of surviving in their world. 3 other faces Penelope didn't recognize filled the remaining screens, relatives from other branches of the family, all watching with predatory interest. Junwoo stood. "Thank you all for coming on short notice. I'm introducing my new head of personal security, Penelope Mensah. She'll be coordinating all protection details moving forward." Silence, the kind that felt like a living thing. Then Sungmin laughed from his screen, the sound cruel and young. "A woman? An African woman? Uncle, have you completely lost your mind, or are you just thinking with something other than your brain?" The insult hung in the air. Penelope felt every eye in the room shift to her. waiting to see if she'd react, if she'd prove herself weak. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there with that same neutral expression, like Sung-min was a fly buzzing somewhere in the distance, annoying but ultimately insignificant. "Be very careful, nephew," Junwoo's voice dropped dangerously low. "She's the reason you're in Busan instead of a grave. I'd suggest showing respect." "You should have killed me. At least then I'd know you still had your edge." "Your family. Family you exiled. Family you betrayed." Uncle Dongwon's voice cut through the argument like a knife, speaking in rapid Korean. Junwoo responded in the same language, the conversation heated and fast. Penelope understood none of the words, but read the body language perfectly. Dongwon was testing, probing for weakness, making judgments. Finally, the old man switched to English, his accent thick but his words precise. "This girl, show us her skills. I want to see what we're trusting with our lives." "That's not necessary," Junwoo started, but Penelope stepped forward. "It's fine." She looked around the room, pointed at Taehyun. "You, attack me. For real, not practice. Like you mean to hurt me." He blinked, genuinely surprised. "Excuse me?" "Attack me. Seriously. Pretend I'm an assassin coming for your cousin. Stop me." Taehyun looked at Junwoo, who nodded slowly, curiosity replacing concern. The businessman stood, removed his expensive jacket, draped it carefully over his chair, adopted what was probably meant to be a fighting stance, feet too wide, weight too far back, shoulders telegraphing every move before he made it. Penelope didn't move, just watched him with those dark, calm eyes. He threw a punch, careful at first, not wanting to actually hurt her. She caught his wrist mid-strike, twisted gently, and suddenly he was on his knees, his arm locked in a position that would snap the elbow if she applied just a bit more pressure. The whole movement took less than a second. "Too slow," she said conversationally, like she was discussing the weather. "You telegraph your moves with your shoulders. Anyone trained would see that coming from across the room. And never go high first when you don't know your opponent's capabilities. You're off balance, easy to counter. Start low, test their defenses, then adapt." She released him. Taehyun stood slowly, rubbing his wrist, looking at her with new eyes that held both respect and wariness. "Anyone else?" Penelope asked the room. Minseo stood next, her movements fluid and predatory. "I have a question." "Go ahead." "My brother-in-law is 50 years old." "You're what? 23? 22. 22. Minseo smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "How do we know you're not just another young girl trying to get close to a powerful man for the wrong reasons? Pretty girl, lonely widower, we've all seen this story before. It usually ends badly." Penelope felt anger flicker, but kept her voice level, professional. "Ma'am, if I wanted power or money, there are easier ways to get it than potentially dying every day for someone I barely know. And if you're implying something inappropriate, save your breath. I'm here to do a job. Keep him alive, that's all." "But you'd like it to be more, wouldn't you?" Sung-min called from his screen, his tone mocking. "I can see it in how you look at him. I bet you're already counting the money, planning how to—" Junwoo's fist slammed on the table hard enough to make the water glasses jump. "Enough." "Am I wrong, Uncle? Tell me I'm wrong." The room fell silent. Everyone looked between Junwoo and Penelope, measuring the space between them, the tension that hummed like a live wire, looking for cracks in the professional facade. Ms. Mensah has been offered a professional position and has accepted under strictly professional terms, Junwoo said carefully, each word chosen with precision. What any of us might feel personally is irrelevant to her qualifications, which are beyond question. She's the most capable person I've met in years. But you do feel something, Minseo pressed, leaning forward like a cat that spotted a mouse. Don't you, brother? That's what this is really about. Not her skills, your loneliness. Enough, Uncle Dongwon's voice cut through again. I don't care about romance or feelings or whatever emotional nonsense you're all dancing around. Hire the girl. Don't hire her. It's Junwoo's decision. but resolve whatever this is before it becomes a liability. He leaned closer to his camera, his old eyes hard as stone. Emotion is weakness in our world. Weakness gets people killed. I've buried 3 sons who made decisions with their hearts instead of their heads. Don't become the 4th. The old man disconnected. One by one, the other screens went dark until only Sung-min remained, his smile poisonous. "Enjoy it while it lasts, uncle," he said softly. "Eventually, everyone you trust betrays you. It's family tradition." His screen went black. Minseo gathered her things, an expensive purse, a phone that probably cost more than Penelope's entire wardrobe, and paused by the door. For a moment, something shifted in her expression. Not quite kindness, but something close to it. "For what it's worth," she said to Penelope, not looking at Junwoo, "I hope you're as good as you seem. My brother-in-law deserves someone watching his back who actually cares whether he lives or dies." She paused. "Just be careful. This family destroys everything beautiful it touches. Always has." Then she left, her heels clicking away down the marble hallway. Taehyun followed with an apologetic nod toward Penelope. Then they were alone. Penelope sat down heavily in one of the expensive leather chairs, suddenly exhausted. "Well, that was fun?" "I'm sorry," Junwoo said quietly, still standing, his hands gripping the back of his chair. "They had no right to speak to you like that. The insinuations, the disrespect. They had every right. They're your family. They're protecting you in their own messed up way." She looked up at him. "And they're not wrong to be suspicious. There is something between us, even if we're not acting on it." "Does that bother you?" "Yes, because it makes my job harder." She stood, paced to the windows. "Be honest with me. When you offered me this job, was it only about my skills?" Silence stretched between them. "Junwoo, I need to know." "No," he admitted finally, the word heavy. "Not only. I was impressed by your abilities, yes, but I was also drawn to you. Your strength, your honesty, the way you looked at me like I was just a person instead of a monster or a meal ticket." He moved closer but kept careful distance. "But that doesn't mean I'm not serious about your qualifications. You're the most capable person I've met in years. The fact that I also enjoy your company, that I think about you more than I should, that seems like a bonus, not a problem. Unless you disagree." "It is a problem," Penelope said, but her voice was soft. "Because I feel it too. This pull, and I can't protect you if I'm distracted by wanting." She stopped herself. "Wanting what?" "Things I can't have. Things that would compromise everything." Junwoo crossed the room, stopped a careful distance away, close enough to talk quietly, far enough to maintain the boundaries she'd set. "What if we try something, being professional and being honest? You protect me while we both acknowledge there's something between us worth acknowledging. Not acting on it. Just not pretending it doesn't exist." It was the worst possible compromise. The kind that satisfied nobody and endangered everyone. The kind that would keep them both up at night wondering what if. And still, Penelope found herself nodding. "Okay, we can try, but the job comes first. Your safety comes first. If I ever think these feelings are compromising my judgment, I walk away. Deal?" His smile was soft, relieved, grateful. "Deal." "Good. Now, show me your security setup. I want to know every entry point, every safe. House, every extraction route. And I need to vet your entire team. Someone betrayed you to Sung-min, which means we have a leak. If you're still with me, hit that like button because this story is about to get intense. We're just getting started. The next 4 weeks were a crash course in Junwoo's complicated, dangerous world. Penelope learned his schedule down to the minute, memorized his routines, studied the patterns of his life like she was preparing for the most important exam she'd ever take. She attended meetings, stood in corners watching everything, cataloged faces and behaviors, and the micro-expressions that revealed when someone was lying. She was good at it. Frighteningly good. Within the first week, she'd identified the leak. one of Junwoo's drivers who'd been feeding information to Sung-min for months. The man broke down crying when confronted, said they'd threatened his daughter, shown him pictures of her walking home from school. Penelope felt sympathy, but no hesitation. She fired him on the spot, arranged protection for his daughter, and hired 3 new drivers she personally vetted through her growing network of contacts. By week 2, she'd caught an accountant skimming funds. Small amounts, almost unnoticeable, but theft nonetheless. By week 3, she'd identified a rival organization planning to move on their territory and helped coordinate a response that ended without bloodshed, but with very clear messages sent. But the biggest save came at the end of week 4. They were at a formal dinner with Korean business partners at an upscale restaurant in Buckhead. 20 people, multiple courses, deals worth millions being discussed over banchan and soju. Penelope stood against the wall in a black suit, watching, always watching. The servers moved through the room with practiced efficiency. Except one. His timing was off by fractions of a second. His eyes moved wrong, too focused on Junwoo, not focused enough on his actual job. And when he set down a bowl of kimchi jjigae in front of Junwoo, his hand trembled. Penelope was moving before conscious thought caught up. 3 strides across the room. Her hand shot out and knocked the bowl off the table. It hit the floor with a crash that stopped all conversation. Hot soup everywhere. Ceramics shattered. Everyone staring. "What the hell?" one of the business partners demanded. Penelope ignored him, grabbed the server by the collar, slammed him against the wall. "Who sent you? I didn't—" "The soup. What was in it?" His eyes went wide with genuine fear. Started stammering in Korean. Penelope looked at Junwoo, who'd gone very still. "Call 911, Junwoo said quietly. Then to the server, in Korean, rapid and harsh. The young man broke, words tumbling out. Minseo's name came up multiple times, threats against his family, money he desperately needed for his mother's cancer treatment. Penelope's team had secured the restaurant within minutes. They'd been positioned outside, ready for exactly this kind of situation. The server was taken away, not to police, but somewhere Junwoo could decide what to do with him later. Later, in the car, Junwoo looked at her with something like awe. "How did you know?" His timing was wrong, his hand shook, and the soup smelled bitter underneath the spice. Penelope was still riding an adrenaline high, her heart hammering. "I'm going to have it analyzed, but I'm guessing some kind of slow-acting poison. Something that would look like a heart attack in a few hours." "You tasted it to be sure, didn't you? When you knocked it over, some got on your hand and you tasted it." She didn't answer, which was answer enough. Junwoo grabbed her hand, examined it. There was a small red mark where the hot soup had splashed her. "If it was poison, then I ingested a tiny amount. I'll be fine, better me than you. I'm younger, stronger, and expendable." "You're not expendable." His grip on. Her hand tightened. "Don't ever say that again." They drove in silence to his apartment, a penthouse in Buckhead with security that rivaled Fort Knox. Penelope had upgraded it further in the past month, added cameras and sensors and protocols that turned it into a fortress. Inside, Junwoo made her drink water, lots of it, to flush anything toxic from her system. Made her sit while he examined her hand under the light, checking for burns, or worse. His touch was gentle, careful, and Penelope felt her carefully constructed walls start to crack. "You shouldn't have done that," he said quietly. "Done what?" "Risked yourself. That's not your job." "That's exactly my job. Literally in the job description. Keep you alive at all costs." "The cost isn't supposed to be you." He looked up, met her eyes. I won't lose someone else because of my choices." "You won't lose me. I'm too stubborn to die from a little poisoned soup." "Penelope? I'm serious. My grandmother to make me drink bitter medicinal teas that would kill a normal person. This was nothing." He smiled despite himself, but his eyes remained worried. They sat there in his kitchen, her hand still in his, the space between them charged with everything they weren't saying. "Minseo is escalating," Penelope said finally, pulling her hand away before she did something stupid. First your nephew, now this. She's not going to stop. I know. So what are you going to do about it? I don't know. Junwoo looked older suddenly, worn down by decades of violence and betrayal. She's family. She's also my brother's widow, and I owe him. You owe him nothing. He tried to kill you. You did what you had to do. I put a bullet in my own brother's head. To save your own life. That's not murder. That's survival. Junwoo stood, paced to the windows that showed Atlanta glittering below them. Do you know what it feels like? To kill family? To look into eyes that share your blood and pull the trigger anyway? No, but I know what it feels like to be betrayed by family. To watch people who should love you destroy everything you've built. Penelope joined him at the window. My father sold our land, our home, everything my grandmother had built over 60 years. Sold it to pay debts he'd hidden from us. When my mother found out, it nearly killed her. Broke something in her that never healed. What did you do? I left. Couldn't stay in that house anymore. Couldn't look at him without wanting to hurt him. So I came here, to America, looking for something better. Something clean. She laughed without humor. Instead, I found warehouses to clean and a crime boss to protect. My grandmother would find the irony hilarious. Would she approve? Of this job? Of me? Penelope considered carefully. She'd say you're a man carrying too much weight, that you need someone to help you carry it before it crushes you. She'd also probably threaten to beat you with her wooden spoon if you ever hurt me, and she'd mean it. That woman was terrifying when she wanted to be. She sounds amazing! She was. She taught me that strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up every time you do. And that kindness in a cruel world isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing there is. Junwoo turned to face her fully. Is that why you saved me? In the warehouse? Kindness? Maybe. Or maybe I just saw someone worth saving. She held his gaze. Someone who tries to be better than his worst choices. That's rare. The air between them felt electric, charged. Junwoo raised his hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he touched her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheek. This is getting complicated, he said softly. It's been complicated since that first night. What are we going to do about it? Penelope wanted to kiss him. Wanted it so badly every nerve in her body sang with it. But they were standing in his apartment at midnight, adrenaline still pumping from the near assassination. And this wasn't the right moment. Wasn't safe. So instead, she stepped back, put necessary distance between them. We're going to stay professional, she said firmly. And tomorrow, we're going to deal with Minseo before she succeeds in killing you. How? I don't know yet. Give me a minute to think. He smiled at that, sad and warm. You really do say that constantly. Because it's true. Best solutions take time. But time was the one thing they didn't have. The next morning, Junwoo called an emergency family meeting. Not at the office this time, at his personal warehouse in West End, a converted industrial space that only his inner circle knew existed. Penelope had argued against it, said gathering everyone together after an assassination attempt was tactically insane. Exactly why we're doing it, Junwoo had insisted. I'm done hiding, done letting fear run my life. If my family wants me dead, let them try it to my face. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Probably, but I'm doing it anyway. So Penelope had spent the morning turning the warehouse into a fortress. 20 of her best people positioned throughout the building, armed and ready, weapons stashed in strategic locations, escape routes planned and rehearsed, medical team on standby, every contingency she could imagine prepared for. When Minseo arrived and saw the security, she smiled. Paranoid, brother. Someone tried to poison me last night, Junwoo said calmly. The young man confessed that you paid him. Did he? How convenient. And where is this alleged assassin now? Somewhere thinking about his choices. Somewhere you're torturing him into saying what you want him to say, you mean? Minseo's smile never wavered. I didn't send anyone after you, but I understand why you'd want to believe I did. Easier than accepting that you have so many enemies you can't keep track anymore. The others arrived over the next 30 minutes. Taehyun, looking nervous. Uncle Dongwon having flown in from Seoul overnight, his old face grave. Sungmin appeared on a large screen. He was still in Busan, thank God, too far away to cause immediate problems. They gathered in the warehouse's central space, a cavernous room with exposed brick and industrial lighting that cast harsh shadows. Junwoo stood at the center. Penelope positioned herself behind, and to his left, where she could see everything, protect him from any angle. Someone hired an assassin to kill me last night, Junwoo began without preamble. That person is in this room. Silence, the kind that felt dangerous. I'm not interested in denials or excuses. I just want to know why. Why my own family keeps trying to destroy me. Uncle Dongwon stepped forward, his movement slow but purposeful. You've become weak, Junwoo. Ever since this girl... He gestured at Penelope dismissively. You've lost your edge. You spare enemies when you should eliminate them. You show mercy when you should show strength. You make decisions based on feelings instead of strategy. So that justifies murder. I didn't say I sent anyone, but I understand why someone would. You're a liability now. To yourself, to this family, to the organization we've all built. Who? Junwoo's voice was steel. Who sent the assassin? Dongwon's eyes drifted slowly to Minseo. All attention shifted. Minseo stood perfectly still, her expression unreadable. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. Then she smiled. Guilty. The admission hit like a physical blow. Even expecting it, Penelope felt the shock ripple through the room. Junwoo's face went carefully blank. Why? Because you killed my husband. Minseo's voice was steady, almost calm. 3 years ago, you put a bullet in his head and then you held me at his funeral and told me it would be okay. Like you were some kind of hero. Like you hadn't just destroyed my entire world. Your husband tried to kill me first. It was self-defense. It was murder. There's always another choice, always another way. But you chose violence. You always choose violence. Her calm cracked, voice rising. He was everything to me. My partner. My love, the father of the child I was carrying. Did you know that? That I was pregnant when you killed him? Silence. Complete, horrible silence. I lost the baby. 2 weeks after the funeral, Minseo continued, tears streaming down her face now, but her voice steady. From the stress, the grief. So you didn't just kill my husband. You killed my future, my child, everything I was supposed to be. She pulled a gun from her jacket. Fast. Practiced. So, yes, I hired someone to poison you. And when that failed, I came here today prepared to finish it myself. Penelope was already moving. 3 steps. Her own weapon drawn. Trained on Minseo's chest. Put it down. Move aside, girl. This doesn't concern you. He's my responsibility. Everything concerning him concerns me. He's not worth dying for. That's my decision to make. They stood frozen in a tableau. Minseo with her gun pointed at Junwoo. Penelope blocking the shot with her own weapon trained on Minseo. Everyone else pressed against the walls, afraid to move, afraid to breathe. Then Junwoo did something that stopped Penelope's heart. He stepped around her, put himself directly in Minseo's line of fire. If you need to kill me to find peace, then do it, he said quietly. I'm so tired, Minseo. Tired of running from my past. Tired of watching everyone I love turn into enemies. If my death will end this cycle, if it will let you heal, then I'm ready. Sir, no. Penelope grabbed his arm, tried to pull him back, but he shook her off gently. It's okay. It's not okay. I won't let her. Penelope. He turned, and the look in his eyes broke something in her chest. So much sadness and affection. And resignation. Sometimes, the best way to protect someone is to let them make their own choices. Even the bad ones. Even the final ones. I didn't sign up for this. Didn't agree to watch you commit suicide. I know. I'm sorry. He faced Minseo again. I loved him too. Your husband, my brother. He was brilliant, and funny, and kind when he wanted to be. And I killed him because he didn't give me a choice. But I've lived with that choice every day since. It haunts me. His face haunts me. His voice cracked. And I didn't know about the baby. God, Minseo, if I'd known, it wouldn't have changed anything. You still would have pulled that trigger. Yes, because he pulled his first, because he forced my hand. But I'm sorry for everything you lost, for the pain I caused. I'm truly sorry. Minseo stood there, gun shaking violently in her hand, tears streaming down her face. For 30 seconds, that felt like 30 years. Nobody moved. Then her arm dropped. The gun clattered to the concrete. Floor. I can't, even knowing what you did, even hating you with everything in me. I can't do it, because you're right. He pulled first. And because, she sobbed, actually sobbed. Because I'm so tired of hurting too. Junwoo moved forward slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. When he was close enough, he pulled her into a careful embrace. Minseo resisted for a moment, then collapsed against him like a marionette with cut strings, sobbing into his chest. He held her, rocking slightly, whispering in Korean, apologies, and comfort, and shared grief. Penelope holstered her weapon with shaking hands. She'd been prepared to shoot Minseo, would have done it without hesitation, put a bullet in another human being to protect Junwoo. The realization left her cold and shaking. This job was changing her into someone she didn't recognize. The others in the room slowly relaxed. Taehyun picked up Minseo's gun, cleared it, set it on a table far from everyone. Uncle Dongwon watched, everything with those ancient eyes, nodded slowly, like this confirmed something he'd suspected. After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, Minseo pulled back, wiped her eyes, composed herself with visible effort. I want out, she said to Junwoo, out of this family, this business, this life. I want to leave Atlanta, go somewhere I can breathe without smelling blood. Start over if that's even possible. Where will you go? I don't know yet. Maybe back to Korea, maybe somewhere new entirely. She looked around the warehouse, at the armed guards, and the family that had become enemies. I just know I can't stay here, can't keep living in this cycle of revenge and violence. You have my blessing, and whatever money you need to start fresh. I don't want your money. Take it anyway, for the baby I didn't know about, for the husband you lost, for every tear you've cried because of my choices. Junwoo pulled an envelope from his jacket. Clearly he'd prepared for multiple outcomes from this meeting. There's information for an offshore account. $3 million. American. It's yours. No strings. Minseo took the envelope with shaking hands. This doesn't make us even. No. Nothing could make us even. But maybe it makes your new start a little easier. She nodded, looked at Penelope. Take care of him. He's an idiot, but he means well. And for what it's worth, you were fast enough. If I'd really wanted him dead today, you would have stopped me. That's why I'm leaving instead of dying here. Something like respect flickered in her eyes. You're better than I expected. Thank you, Penelope said, not sure what else to say. Minseo left, just walked out of the warehouse, out of their lives, carrying that envelope like it weighed nothing and everything. The meeting dispersed after that. The crisis had passed. Uncle Dongwon approached Junwoo before leaving. You're still weak, the old man said, but without the earlier venom. But perhaps that's not always wrong. The world is changing. Maybe we must change with it, or die clinging to old ways. He glanced at Penelope. And your bodyguard is competent. Better than competent. If you're going to be foolish enough to step in front of guns, at least you have someone fast enough to stop them. Then he left too, and they were alone, except for Penelope's security team positioned throughout the building. Junwoo sat down heavily on a concrete step, suddenly looking every one of his 50 years. Penelope dismissed her team, told them to maintain perimeter but give them space. Then she sat beside him. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, Penelope said, "That was the stupidest, most reckless thing I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of stupid things. I know. You could have died. I know that too. So why did you do it?" Junwoo was quiet for a moment. "Because I'm tired of living in fear, tired of everyone around me suffering because of my choices." Minseo was right about a lot of things. I did kill her husband. I did destroy her life. Maybe I deserved whatever she wanted to do to me. You don't get to decide you deserve to die. Not while I'm responsible for keeping you alive. I'm sorry for putting you in that position. You should be. Penelope's voice cracked slightly. I was going to shoot her, was half a second from pulling the trigger, would have killed someone to protect you, and I've never killed anyone in my life. He turned to look at her, really look at her. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing and start thinking. What if she hadn't stopped? What if she'd pulled the trigger anyway? Then you would have stopped her. You're fast enough. What if I wasn't? What if I hesitated just for a moment because I couldn't? She stopped, swallowed hard. Because I cared too much to think straight. Penelope, no, let me finish. She stood, paced away from him. This is why I said we needed to stay. Professional. This right here, because when I thought she might kill you, when you stepped in front of that gun, something in me broke, and I can't protect you if I'm breaking. Junwoo stood too, moved toward her. Then maybe you shouldn't protect me. What? Maybe this was a mistake. The job, the proximity, all of it. Maybe you should walk away before this world destroys the good person you are. Don't you dare! Penelope spun to face him, anger flashing hot. Don't you dare offer me that escape route. I took this job knowing what it was, knowing what you were. And I'm staying because... She stopped, the words stuck in her throat. Because why? Because you're worth protecting. Because underneath all the violence and complicated history, you're trying to be better. Because when I look at you, I see someone as lost as I am, and maybe lost people are supposed to find each other. The words tumbled out faster now. And because I think I'm falling for you, which is the worst possible thing that could happen, and I don't know how to stop it. The admission hung between them. Raw, honest, terrifying. Junwoo closed the distance between them slowly, raised his hand, cupped her face gently. I've been falling for you since that first night, when you fought like a warrior and looked at me like I was just a person. Not a monster, not a paycheck, just a person. This is so stupid. We barely know each other. I know, but I've never felt this way about anyone. This pull, this certainty that you're important, that losing you would be worse than any bullet. We can't. I know that too. They stood there, foreheads almost touching, breathing the same air. Every instinct in Penelope screamed to close the distance, to take what she wanted, but she'd made a promise. Professional. Boundaries. So instead, she stepped back, put necessary space between them. We need a rule, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. A real one? If we're going to acknowledge these feelings exist, we need a line we don't cross. Not yet. Not while I'm protecting you. What line? No kissing. No intimate contact beyond friendly. We can be honest about how we feel, but we don't act on it until the danger passes. Until I'm not responsible for keeping you alive anymore. And when will that be? I don't know, but I'll know when we get there. Junwoo smiled, sad and understanding. Okay, no kissing until you say it's safe. I can live with that. Can you? For you, I'd wait forever. The words hit harder than any physical touch. Penelope felt tears prick her eyes, but blinked them back. You're making this very difficult. Good. You're worth being difficult for. Her phone buzzed, shattering the moment. She pulled it out, read the message, and her expression went hard. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Someone just broke into your main office, stole files, copied documents, Financial records going back 15 years. Very professional job. They knew exactly what they were doing. Who? Unknown, but Detective Chen is there now and she wants to talk to you immediately. They drove to Park Industries Tower in tense silence, both lost in thought. By the time they arrived, Penelope had already called in her team, started gathering intel, building a picture of what happened. Detective Chen met them in the lobby, same tired-looking woman from before, sharp eyes missing nothing. She took in how Penelope positioned herself between Chen and Junwoo, how her hand never moved far from her concealed weapon. Mr. Park, your security system was disabled between 2 and 4 this afternoon. Very professional. They accessed your private office, bypassed your safe, copied files from your computer. What files? Penelope asked. We're still determining that. But from what your IT team can tell, someone accessed financial records going back 15 years, transactions, partnerships, acquisitions. Chen looked directly at Junwoo. The kind of information someone might use to build a case, either legal or otherwise. You think someone's investigating me, Junwoo said flatly. I think someone's gathering ammunition. Whether they plan to use it with law enforcement or against you personally, that's the question I can't answer yet. She paused. Off the record? Whatever's coming, it's big. Someone with serious resources is making a move. Watch your back. They spent 2 hours going through security footage, reviewing access logs, answering questions. When Chen finally let them leave, night had fallen completely. In the car, Junwoo made calls in rapid Korean to various people across his organization. When he finally hung up, his expression was grim. Tae-hyun is missing, hasn't answered his phone in 8 hours. His wife says he left this morning for a meeting and never came back. You think he's involved in the break-in? No. Tae-hyun's many things, but he's not a thief. Which means whoever broke in took him too. This is coordinated. Someone's making a move on the entire organization. Who has the resources for something like this? Junwoo pulled out his phone, showed her photos of 3 different men. Shortlist could be the Chen family out of Chinatown. They've been trying to expand into our territory for years. Could be the Volkov operation running drugs through the port. They have Russian mob connections. Or someone inside my own organization who's been planning this for months. Someone I trusted. Penelope's hands tightened on the steering wheel. How many more betrayals can one family hide? In my experience, no limit. Her phone rang, unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Penelope Mensah? A male voice, American accent with something underneath she couldn't place. Professional, educated, but cold. I have something you want. Who is this? The person who has Tae-hyun. He's alive, unhurt, and will stay that way if you follow instructions exactly. Junwoo leaned forward. What do you want? Ah, Mr. Park. Perfect. Saves me a call. I want you to meet me tomorrow at noon. Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, International Terminal, Gate E27. Come alone. Well, you can bring your lovely bodyguard. I'd like to meet the woman who's caused so much trouble for my plans. What plans? Who are you? Tomorrow. Noon. Don't be late. The line went dead. Penelope pulled into an empty parking lot, killed the engine. Her mind was already racing through possibilities, threats, contingencies. It's a trap. Obviously. So we're not going. We have to. They have Tae-hyun, who you don't even like that much. He's always argued against your decisions, questioned your judgment. He's family, and he's innocent in whatever game someone's playing. I won't leave him to whatever fate they have planned. Junwoo met her eyes. I go. You stay here. Coordinate with the team. Prepare for whatever happens next. Not a chance. Penelope? No, absolutely not. We agreed. Wherever you go, I go. That's the deal. The deal was you protect me. Hard to do that if we're both walking into an obvious trap. She wanted to argue, to insist, to use her position as head of security to veto this suicidal plan. But he had a point. Tactically, splitting up made sense. Emotionally, it felt like the worst idea in the world. Give me tonight, she said finally. Let me think, plan, prepare. There has to be a way to do this smart instead of stupid. Okay, tonight. But tomorrow at noon, one way or another, I'm going to that airport. They spent the night at Junwoo's secure apartment, planning and preparing like they were going to war. Because in a way, they were. Penelope called in every favor, activated every resource, built contingencies for contingencies. By dawn, they had a plan. Not a great plan, not even a good plan, but something that might keep them both alive. At 11 a.m., they arrived at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Penelope had 20 people positioned throughout the terminal, all disguised as travelers or staff. Another 15 outside in unmarked vehicles. Medical team on standby, escape routes mapped, weapons stashed in bathroom dead drops. Every security camera feed routed to her tablet. She'd turned the busiest airport in the world into her operational fortress. Gate E27 was in a quiet section of the international terminal. They stood in the empty seating area, waiting. Penelope's eyes never stopped moving, cataloging threats, tracking movements, reading body language. Noon came and went. No contact. Maybe they're not coming, Penelope muttered, her hand resting on the weapon concealed beneath her jacket. They're here, just watching, testing to see if we followed instructions, if we brought backup. Junwoo's eyes scanned the terminal. Whoever this is, they're professional. They'll make contact when they're ready. At 12:15, an elderly Korean woman approached, carrying shopping bags like any normal traveler. She sat down 2 seats away from them, pulled out her phone, started scrolling like she was killing time before a flight. Mr. Park, she said without looking at him, her accent thick, walked to the restroom, 3rd stall from the end, alone. You have 30 seconds. Not happening, Penelope said immediately, her muscles tensing for action. The woman finally looked at her, smiled pleasantly, like they were discussing the weather. Then Taehyun dies, slowly, painfully. We'll send you videos. Your choice. Junwoo stood. It's fine. Sir, absolutely not. Trust me, I need you out here coordinating. If this goes wrong, you're the only person who can get everyone out safely. He squeezed her shoulder briefly. Trust me. Every instinct in Penelope's body screamed to stop him. But he was right. Tactically, she was more useful out here. She let him go, watched him walk toward the restrooms, every muscle in her body coiled and ready. She counted to 30, then 60. At 90 seconds, she'd had enough. Made the call. All units, move to secondary positions around the restrooms. Nobody in or out. She followed, positioned herself where she could see the entrance. Her team had already locked down the entire bathroom area. No way anyone was getting in or out without them knowing. 5 minutes passed. 10. At 15, her radio crackled. Boss, we've got movement. Black SUV just pulled up at the service entrance on the lower level. Someone matching Park's description just got in. They're moving. Follow them. Close but not too close. Do not engage unless I give the order. She was already running. Her team materialized around her, moving in coordinated precision. They piled into 3 vehicles, took off after the SUV. But Atlanta traffic was thick, and whoever was driving knew every trick. Within 20 minutes, they'd vanished completely into the labyrinth of downtown streets. Penelope slammed her hand against the dashboard hard enough to hurt. No. No, no, no. Her phone rang. Junwoo. Are you hurt? She demanded, her heart hammering so hard it physically hurt. I'm fine. Listen carefully. This wasn't a kidnapping. It was a meeting. And Penelope, you need to hear this. What? Get back to the office. Bring the full council. Everyone. Taehyun is fine. He's with me. We're both safe. And what I learned in the last 30 minutes changes everything. I don't understand. You will. Office. 1 hour. And Penelope? His voice softened. I'm sorry for scaring you. I know you were terrified. Terrified doesn't begin to cover it. When I thought, she stopped herself. Too many people listening. Just get back safe. I will. I promise. The call ended, leaving Penelope sitting in the back of an SUV in downtown Atlanta, adrenaline still screaming through her system, trying to make sense of what just happened. 2 hours later, Junwoo walked into Park Industries Tower like nothing had happened. Tae-hyun was with him, looking shaken but unharmed. Penelope was waiting in the lobby with 12 of her people, all armed, all ready to respond to any threat. When Junwoo saw her expression, relief and fury warring for dominance, he smiled apologetically. I really am sorry. Explain, now. Upstairs, with everyone. He'd called a full emergency meeting, 30 people crammed into the largest conference room, the entire family council plus key lieutenants from across the organization. Everyone looked confused and worried. Nobody knew why they'd been summoned on such short notice. Junwoo stood at the head of the table, Tae-hyun beside him. Penelope positioned herself where she could see everyone, watch for threats, protect Junwoo from any angle. For the past 6 months, Junwoo began, someone has been systematically gathering information on our organization, not to destroy us, not to turn us over to law enforcement, to buy us. Silence. Confused silence. Everything that's happened, the break-ins, the stolen files, even Tae-hyun's disappearance, it was all part of due diligence, research. They were building a case, preparing an offer. And this morning, I met the person behind it all. He pulled out a document, thick with legal language, and slid it across the table. This is a purchase agreement. A tech company out of Austin called Phoenix Rising. They're offering to buy our entire criminal operation, clean it, convert everything into legitimate businesses, full amnesty for past crimes in exchange for our cooperation, jobs for everyone who wants them, enough money that anyone who wants to walk away can do so comfortably. That's insane, someone said. You can't just buy crime and make it legal. You can if you have the right connections. Phoenix Rising has been doing this for 5 years, quietly acquiring criminal organizations across the country. They have arrangements with federal law enforcement, cooperation agreements with the Justice Department. They're offering us a way out. Uncle Dong-won spoke up from his video screen. This is a trick, a trap. Nobody offers something like this without ulterior motives. I thought so too. That's why I spent 3 hours this morning with their CEO, reviewing their financials, talking to people they've already converted. It's real. Everything checks out. Penelope picked up the document, started reading quickly. The terms were actually generous, suspiciously generous. Full immunity from prosecution, transition assistance, compensation packages that would make everyone in this room millionaires. If it was real, it was almost too good to be true. Who's behind this? She asked. Who runs Phoenix Rising? Junwoo pulled up a photo on the screen. A man in his 60s, Korean-American, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, distinguished looking. Like someone's favorite professor. Kim Seung-ho, former Yakuza enforcer, turned legitimate 30 years ago, built a tech empire worth billions, claims he's trying to break the cycle of violence, says he was where we are once, and someone gave him a chance. Now he's paying it forward. Or it's an elaborate con, Minseo's replacement, a younger woman named Ji-yeon, pointed out. Get us to trust them, hand over everything, then destroy us. That's possible. But they already have everything. The files they copied give them enough evidence to put us all away for decades. If they wanted to destroy us, they'd just hand that to the FBI. Instead, they're offering us an exit. The room erupted in argument. Some wanted to accept immediately. Others wanted to fight. A few wanted more time to investigate. Penelope stayed quiet, watching Junwoo, reading his body language. He wanted this. She could see it in how he held himself, the hope carefully hidden beneath professional neutrality. He wanted out of this life, wanted clean hands, wanted to be something other than what 30 years of violence had made him. When the noise died down, Uncle Dong-won spoke again. What do you want to do, Junwoo? Really? I want to accept. Not because I'm afraid of prison, but because I'm tired. He looked around the room, at all these people whose lives depended on his choices. Tired of looking over my shoulder, tired of watching family turn on family, tired of being someone people fear instead of respect. And because his eyes found Penelope. Someone recently reminded me that the strongest thing you can do is choose compassion when everyone expects cruelty. This feels like that choice. What happens to us? Taehyun asked. To all of us? You choose. Take the money and retire. Stay on as employees in the new legitimate business. Or walk away and start fresh somewhere else. Kim is giving everyone options, no judgment. And if we refuse, then he releases the evidence, and we all take our chances with the legal system. But I don't think he wants that. I think he genuinely wants to help. Junwoo paused. I need a decision. We have 72 hours to respond. For the next hour, they debated, argued, examined every angle, but slowly, inevitably, consensus emerged. The vote wasn't unanimous. Some of the older members wanted to fight, wanted to maintain the old ways, but 70% chose to accept the deal. 3 days later, the contracts were signed. Park Industries began the complex, delicate process of going legitimate. It took weeks of lawyers and accountants and tense meetings with federal prosecutors. But slowly, impossibly, it happened. Penelope spent those weeks coordinating security, managing the transition, ensuring nobody decided to cause problems during the vulnerable changeover period. She barely saw Junwoo except in meetings and briefings, both of them too busy managing the chaos to think about anything else. 6 weeks after that meeting, it was done. Park Industries officially became Park Enterprises, a legitimate import-export business with actual legal products and real tax returns. The criminal organization that had existed for 3 decades dissolved like morning fog. Junwoo stood in his office looking at the new corporate charter like he couldn't quite believe it was real. How do you feel? Penelope asked, joining him at the window. It was the first time they'd been alone in weeks. Lighter, like I've been carrying weight for 30 years and just put it down. He glanced at her. And terrified, I don't know how to be anything other than what I was. You learn. Same as everyone else. Will you stay? The question was quiet, vulnerable. I know the job's different now. Less danger, less excitement, mostly just boring corporate security. You might want something more meaningful. Junwoo. She waited until he looked at her. I didn't stay because of the danger. I stayed because of you. That's not very professional. No, it's not, she smiled. And I think maybe our professional obligations just ended. He caught her meaning, hope flaring in his eyes. Are you saying? I'm saying you're no longer a crime boss who needs protecting. You're a legitimate businessman who can hire security like a normal person. Which means I can quit. You're quitting? Effective immediately. Consider this my resignation. She pulled out a paper from her pocket, an actual resignation letter she'd prepared that morning. Set it on his desk. Junwoo's face fell. Oh, I see. You're leaving Atlanta. I didn't say that. Then I'm saying I can't date my boss, but I can date the man who used to be my boss. If he's interested. She stepped closer. Are you interested, Junwoo? He closed the distance between them in 2 strides, cupped her face with both hands, looked at her like she was something precious and impossible. I've been interested since that first night, when you fought like a warrior and looked at me like I was just a person. Then ask me properly. Penelope Mensah, would you go to dinner with me? Real dinner, not business, just 2 people getting to know each other without guns and bodyguards and people trying to kill us? I'd love to, but Korean food, you still owe me a proper education. He laughed, that surprised, genuine laugh she loved more than anything. Deal. Then he kissed her. Finally, after months of wanting and waiting and carefully maintained distance, he kissed her. Soft and careful at first, then deeper when she wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him closer. It felt like coming home, like finding something she hadn't known she was looking for. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Penelope smiled against his lips. Worth waiting for? Absolutely. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. I love you. Have since you hit someone with a mop and changed my entire world. I love you too, even though you're reckless and stubborn and step in front of loaded guns. I promise to work on that. You better, because I'm planning to keep you alive for a very long time. They stood there in his office, no longer a crime lord's fortress, but just a businessman's workspace, holding each other while Atlanta spread out below them. Outside, the world kept spinning. But here, in this moment, they had each other. And maybe that was enough. 3 months later, Penelope stood in that same office watching Junwoo argue on the phone about shipping regulations and customs forms. Completely normal, completely boring, completely perfect. Her phone rang, unknown number. She almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity won. Penelope Mensah? A woman's voice, professional but warm. My name is Claire. I work for Kim Sung-ho at Phoenix Rising. We have a situation in Houston, another organization that needs convincing to go legitimate. Mr. Kim was wondering if you and Mr. Park might be interested in consulting, using your experience to help others escape the life you left behind. Penelope looked at Junwoo, who'd finished his call and was watching her curiously. It would be dangerous work, Claire continued, but meaningful, helping people find the same second chance you both found. Interested? Can I think about it? Of course. But Penelope, people like you and Junwoo are rare. People who understand violence, but choose compassion. People who can fight, but prefer mercy. The world needs more of that. After she hung up, Junwoo asked, good news or bad news? Not sure yet. Give me a minute to figure it out. He smiled, crossed the room, pulled her into a gentle hug. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. She leaned into him, feeling safe and understood. Not in Mauritius, not just in Atlanta, but here. With him, building something new. I love you, she said quietly. I love you too. For better or worse, for boring or dangerous, for whatever comes next. They stood there surrounded by shipping schedules and customs forms, building a life from the pieces of their old ones. Some love stories start with fireworks. Some start with danger. Theirs started with a mop and 20 armed men and the recognition that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose kindness when cruelty would be easier. And standing there in that ordinary office doing ordinary work, Penelope Mensah from Mauritius and Park Junwoo from Seoul decided that their story was just beginning. So there you have it. From warehouse floors to office towers. From violence to love, from lost to found. If this story grabbed you, if Penelope and Junwoo's journey meant something to you, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me which moment hit hardest, and subscribe because I've got more stories about people finding light in dark places. Thanks for sticking with me for this whole hour. Now, go out there and be brave like Penelope. The world needs more people who fight for what's right. See you in the next one.